we want freedom, justice, and equality. But let's single out for a moment equality. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan used to teach us the difference between the adjective equal and the adverb equally. And we could put that in the same context of explaining the difference between equality and equity. Now, imagine you have three people trying to look over a fence. One person is 4 feet tall, the next person is 5 feet tall, the third person is 6 feet tall, but the fence is 7 feet tall. And someone gives each of them a 2-foot crate to stand on so that they can see over the fence. Now, the person who is 6 feet tall, he can see comfortably now, because 6 feet plus 2 feet, he's now standing 8 feet above, and the fence is 7 feet. Okay, good. But the one who's 5 feet and the one who's 4 feet, neither of them can see. So they have not been treated with fairness. But the person responsible for the system will say, but I have treated everyone equally. I have done justice by those people. But he knows instinctively that he did not, but he represents the system falsely. So equity added to that equality would ensure that the person who is 6 feet tall got a 2-foot crate, but the person who is 5 foot tall got a 3-foot crate, and the person who is 4 feet tall got a 4-foot crate. So now that you add equity into the equation of freedom, justice, and equality, now they're all being treated fairly. And each of them have experienced justice. So now the person who's in charge of the system can say, but look, now I have specifically made sure that every single citizen or every single individual under the system of freedom, justice, and equality is being treated fairly, equally, and equitably. But there's still a problem. The problem is the fence is still erected. So liberation now is the removal of the fence altogether. So we make the point, and remember, African Liberation Day, May 25th and 26th, was up for consideration for the holiday for people of African descent in Trinidad and Tobago. And the difference between liberation and emancipation is that emancipation is something that is given to you. Liberation is something that you take. So when we were emancipated, our former slave masters said, here, we have had a meeting and we decided that we will let you go free. And your freedom is limited and restricted to the confines of the decision-making process of the oppressor. But liberation now is not when the enemy has a meeting. Liberation is when we have a meeting. And when we decide among ourselves that we're going to take our freedom and ensure that there's justice and equality, not just for us who have been fighting against oppression, but that we ensure that that freedom, justice, and equality is provided for all regardless. And then once we acquire that freedom, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, which means that you have to remain perpetually conscious to ensure that your freedoms are not slowly but surely and surreptitiously being encroached upon without you even noticing. So Minister Farrakhan, in speaking on Dr. Martin Luther King Day, explained this whole idea behind revolution and rebellion. Many people love the idea of revolution with only taking into consideration the presence of your force on the front line, without wondering or taking into consideration what happens behind the scenes. And if black people are so consumed with the idea of revolution, which is a good idea because revolution simply means change, but you're thinking about a violent revolution and you have armed yourself with weapons, but when you're finished your battle, you have to go and get your meal from the enemy's kitchen, then he doesn't even need a weapon. All he has to do is prepare your meal. How many of us are growing our own food?